So welcome to How to Launch Your Website Using WordPress. I assume many of you are very interested in building your own websites, whether it's for your department, your club, your organization, whatever you do outside of Harvard, for yourself, whatever. WordPress can accommodate all of it, and I am here to show you some of the things that it can do. So by the time you leave this afternoon, you'll have answers to these questions. What is WordPress? Who uses WordPress? Why should you use WordPress? And how do you use WordPress? But before we get to those, let's start with a more fundamental question. Who the hell am I to be telling you to use WordPress? Good question. My name is Ken Ging. I work at MIT Medical, just down the road, where my job title is web producer. What's a web producer? Not what I expected. My job has been very disappointing. I do run, hi.
Ken, I apologize. I'm going to have to leave early. I just want to warn you so you don't feel offended that I have to leave, but I really wanted to see your, at least part of your session. So.
Thank you. Yeah, come and go as you need to. And that actually brings up a good point. If you have any questions at any point, don't save them till the end. Just shout them out loud. I'm happy to address questions as they arise. So at MIT Medical, I run our website and our intranet, our internal website. We're an on-campus healthcare facility that treats all MIT students, employees, families, and retirees. And I keep very busy outside of MIT as well. I am a freelance writer for Computer World magazine, where I was an editor for 6 years. I am the publisher of Juice.gs, which is the longest running print publication dedicated to the Apple II computer, currently in its 19th year. I'm co-host of Open Apple, a monthly audio podcast. I have a YouTube channel where I have about 150 videos, 22,000 subscribers, and 3.5 million views. And I'm on the adjunct faculty at Emerson College, where I teach an undergraduate course in online publishing. I also don't sleep, which makes everything else a lot easier. So what is WordPress? Great question. WordPress is just simply a computer program like anything else, except instead of installing it on your own computer, to which you alone have access, you normally would install it on a web server, to which everybody has access. It doesn't need to be your own. You don't need to have one. It just goes on a computer that has a direct connection to the internet. The kind of content management, the kind of software that WordPress is a content management system. And I'll be showing you some examples of those shortly. WordPress is absolutely free. You don't have to pay a dime for it. You can go to the WordPress website right now and grab it, and they won't charge you a penny. They won't ask for your email address, nothing. It's open source, which means that if you are a programmer, you can actually see the innards of how the program works, and you can modify it, which you can't do with, say, Microsoft Word or an iOS app. And this is a little bit more technical, but it has great advantages for the end user. It uses a dynamic database instead of static files. Back 20 years ago, when we first started building websites, we were just hand coding everything, and WordPress makes it a lot easier to build your own website without knowing a lot of stuff. These slides will also be available online afterward, and ideally, there will be a YouTube video of this presentation. So there are other content management system programs out there. Magento, Blogger, Drupal, Joomla, those are some of the most popular ones. Not every website out there uses a content management system, but of those that do, about 60% of the websites that use a CMS use WordPress. It has the majority of the share of CMS websites. The next closest competitor is Joomla, which has maybe 10%. So it's not even close. Of all the websites out there, whether or not they use a CMS, WordPress powers 20% of the websites on the World Wide Web. That's huge. 1 in every 5 websites you go to uses WordPress. Hi, come on in.
So what's the main, what's the secret?
What's the secret? WordPress, I've used all these other CMSs, and WordPress is the easiest to get up and running with. And you don't have to know hardly anything to be able to use WordPress. It is absolutely free. There was another very popular CMS called Movable Type, and they decided to go from free to paid, so you had to start buying it. And people stopped using Movable Type and started using WordPress. There was this huge migration of people to WordPress when they started charging. Question?
For the functions of WordPress, do you think it includes all the functions available in Joomla, or even better?
Not, well, some people will still use Drupal and Joomla for different reasons. If you are a developer, for example, what I've heard is that with WordPress, you can go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds flat.
Mhm.
With Drupal, it'll take you 0 to 60 in several days, but then it just keeps going and keeps going. So you can attain higher speeds or more functionality with Drupal if you know how to do it.
Yeah.
So there are reasons to use Drupal and Joomla, but for just getting started with website building, I would definitely recommend WordPress. We use Drupal at MIT. It's pretty much the official content management system of MIT. There are some exceptions. Individual departments may run WordPress, but it varies site to site. Question?
Does the fact that it's so simple to get up and running have any effect on the ability of someone to hack it more easily?
All these sites can be hacked.
Can?
Oh yeah, there's
So
no perfectly secure website on the
equally
internet.
risky though. I mean, I'm just saying you could have like somebody who's an expert, or you could have somebody who's just an up and coming hacker. So,
I mean, it all depends. You can have a safe installation of WordPress. You can have an insecure installation of WordPress. Kind of like, you know, two people both running Windows. One person locks his computer when he walks away. The other person leaves it open. You know, does that mean Windows is insecure, or that one person has bad habits?
so let me rephrase it. Like the simplicity with which you can start the website does
Mhm.
not have any impact on the security of it, right?
I would say not.
Okay.
Question?
What about Tumblr?
What about Tumblr? Tumblr is similar to a blogging platform, except it's not a program that you can download and install. Tumblr is more like Facebook or Google+, where you're playing in somebody else's sandbox. So you don't have any control over what happens to Tumblr. You can't take it with you, basically. You're using their service. But it is a very powerful system, and I know a lot of people who like it. Yeah. Question?
So I was wondering, you talked about it being free,
Yes.
but my fuzzy memory, I remember that you have to pay for certain things, like if you want like better templates or your own domain name. Can you talk about the difference between the free and the paid version?
I'd be happy to. If you just wait a moment, we'll get to that in a moment. So, who uses WordPress? Almost everybody. The Harvard News Gazette, the Wall Street Journal, NASA, TED, CNN, Rand Paul, UPS, tons of people and organizations across multiple industries use WordPress. And it's not just big organizations, it's tons of individuals who use WordPress. And that's one of the best reasons, in my opinion, to use WordPress, is because there's this huge and very supportive and enthusiastic community of individuals. WordPress just inspires people. They're passionate about using WordPress. For example, this is a conversation you'll never have. Excuse me, what's your favorite spreadsheet program? Do you have a favorite spreadsheet program? What do you use every day?
I think I'm too old. Like
Anybody have, what does everybody use for spreadsheets every day? Excel? You use Excel too? Me too. What's your favorite formula? See?
VLOOKUP.
But see, that's a conversation that almost never happens because people aren't excited about Excel. But people do get excited about WordPress. Okay, you may be the rare exception. When I was interviewing for my job at Computer World 6 years ago, I had a very stern managing editor who said, "We use Drupal here at Computer World. Do you have any experience with Drupal?" I said, "No, I don't." She said, "Well, have you used any other CMS?" I'm like, "Yeah, I use WordPress." She's like, "Oh, you use WordPress? I use that for my personal website. What's your favorite plugin?" And I got the job, and I stayed there for 6 years. And I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence. You know, she wasn't excited talking to me about Drupal. But as soon as WordPress comes up, she just lit up. There is in fact a huge community of WordPress users right here in Boston. If you go to meetup.com and you search for WordPress users and groups that meet about WordPress, Boston, last time I checked, had the largest WordPress meetup group in the world. Almost 2,000 members. They meet the last Monday of every month at the Microsoft New England Research and Development Center, right off the Kendall stop. And their next meeting is next week. I'll have the details for that up later. And once a year, they have a giant Word Camp, which is just a weekend-long event to discuss best practices, strategies, workshops, presentations, panels. It's great. I love using WordPress, and I love the people who use WordPress. And I recommend you being one of them. So, okay, you decide to use WordPress. What are you going to use it for? I've been using WordPress for about 7 years. It turned 10 years old last year. And in all those years, I have never found a need that WordPress could not accommodate. Things that I've used WordPress for include both a corporate blog and a personal blog. It has met both those needs. If I want to build my own portfolio or have a place to put all my writing samples or my design samples, I can put that on my WordPress site. Event calendars and event registration. If you're trying to get people to sign up for an event, WordPress is good for that. A media archive, if you want to store all your videos from a weekend like at WordCamp, you can put them all up right there. Ecommerce, if you want to sell things online, WordPress will do that for you. And my Open Apple podcast, which I host every month, is on a WordPress site. So more broadly speaking, WordPress can be used to build your brand and to build awareness. It can be used to build your portfolio. If you want to have some writing samples out there and have somewhere to link them to, you can just self-publish right on your own website. Here's something I wrote last week, last month, last year. I have a website that archives everything I've written in the last 10 years. And I can go back and find out very easily what an awful writer I used to be. You can engage your audience by soliciting feedback or having them post comments on your blog. Recruitment, if you're trying to get people to join your cause or to promote your cause, you can have a website for that event or that fundraiser. You can centralize yourself, especially with social media. You can say, oh, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Dig, Reddit, StumbleUpon, YouTube, Google+. Or you can just say, here's my website. This is the only place you need to know about. And then there are links from there to everywhere else that I am. That's your home base. You can archive media, as I said. WordPress can handle all sorts of different kinds of file types. And you can drive sales if you have an e-commerce site. What are some of the purposes people want to build a website here for? Portfolio? What kind of portfolio?
Showcasing one's own projects.
Excellent. Anything else? Hi.
Centralize and archive.
Centralize. What is it that you're centralizing? Your own personal self?
Yeah, personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bunch of stuff all over the place. I just want to bring them together.
Yeah, it's really hard because it's so fragmented, our identities nowadays. And building your personal brand is very important because whether chances are whatever position or job you're in now will not be the one you retire from. And when people do a Google search, they're going to find your website first of all. If it has your name on it and your name's in the domain name and it's your site, that'll be the #1 hit. So that's what you want your next employer finding.
I have a question. If you want to have an opinion about something, like build a key opinion leader about some topic, is this the thing that you can use for building your portfolio or some stuff? So over the long term, if you want to be a key opinion leader about a topic, which is not in your professional area, can you also use similar centralization techniques that you mentioned?
Sure. Yeah, you can have a website about different topics or different opinions. For example, I have 2 separate websites, one for all the books I read and one for all the movies that I see. It didn't make sense to me to combine those 2 things because people who are interested in Jane Austen may not also be interested in Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. So I keep separate websites about those. I can say, here's my literature portfolio, here's my movie critique portfolio. So you can build websites about that. And then I have a separate website that is me. Yeah.
Do you centralize all those things together at some point?
There is a link from each of my websites to the others. So on my movie review website, I'll say, here are my other reviews. And there's just a small link in the corner where you can click and get to my movie site. I'm not sure I would necessarily recommend that. My websites are fragmented because I myself am fragmented. If you saw all those things I put up at the beginning, I do a lot of things that don't necessarily connect. And it didn't make sense for me to put all that in. So I would suggest having a topic for your website. And I'll get to that as well in a moment.
I have a question.
Yes.
Have you seen successful implementation of WordPress for online courses?
For online courses?
Yeah, where you're actually offering the syllabus and the learning experience and then linking out to Google Hangout and assessment and all that. Have you seen successful plugins?
I use WordPress for my class that I teach at Emerson. But it is basically just a class blog. My students are writing pieces every week and publishing them. We have a podcast, and we have links to social media. We're not using it as a learning management system. We have Canvas for that, which is similar to Moodle or Blackboard or WebCT. I have seen WordPress be used where if you want to sign up for a course, you can pay for it, and then you get access to all the gated content, like video tutorials. I've never actually paid for one of those services, so I haven't seen what's behind the paywall, but I do know that it has been done. Was there another question?
Yes.
Hi.
I had a question. How do you protect the authorship of your writings in WordPress?
How do you protect the authorship of your writings? Good to see you. That is not easy to do anywhere on the internet because you can't stop people from copying your content, and it will happen.
When you say that you put everything that you have written on your website, that's a tricky thing.
That is very challenging. There are websites that are built specifically to copy other websites. Sometimes their intent is malicious, like they want to put ads on your content and sell it. Sometimes it's benign. They want to archive your website in case your website goes down, they have a backup. As to how you can actually prevent that, technically speaking, there's some code you can put onto any website, whether or not it's WordPress, that will tell those search engines, stay away from my website, don't come here. And it's done in a way that actually enforces that. They actually can't get past that. So visitors can visit your website, but search engines can't. But the harder you make your website to find by search engines, the harder it is for anybody to find your website. So it's sort of a give and take situation. But yeah, I mean, you can put it, behind a paywall. You can make it so that people have to sign up for a free account on your website before they can see anything. But again, the harder you make it to access your website, the less like it is people will go to your website. Any other questions? Okay. So you've probably heard that building a website is a really complicated affair that you need to hire professionals to do, and you may have heard that you're going to need a web server, a domain name. You need to know HTML and CSS to format your website, and maybe some programming like MySQL, PHP, or jQuery. You're going to need this big budget to buy all this stuff and the training, and you're going to need a lot of time. Well, fortunately, you actually don't need all that stuff. WordPress is not that hard. There is only one thing on this list you actually need, and unfortunately, it's the most expensive and difficult to find item on the list, and that is time. Whenever you're learning any new piece of software or you're building a new website, you're going to need time to invest in it, to build its content, and with WordPress, there will be a small learning curve, as there is with any program. As with other CMSs, there's less of a learning curve, but there will still be one. Even no matter what website you're building, you're going to have to answer certain kinds of questions before you even get started. Like, what is the reason you're building this website? Who are you going to be writing for? Is there a specific audience you have in mind? Is there a specific demographic you're targeting? What makes your website unique? What is your perspective? And even some of the technical details, like who will be doing the writing? Are you going to be doing this yourself? Or are you going to have an entire crew that's going to be working with you? Are you going to be writing once a week, once a day, once a month, or whenever you feel like it? These are all questions you need to answer before you start your website, and then be prepared to accommodate. Question?
I'm a bit confused by the previous slide. It says a blog needs to focus. Are we talking about blogs right now? We're talking about any kind of websites.
You're right. That's a good point. It's any kind of website. WordPress does not need to have a blog component to it. You can build a website that is purely static content. Like if you have a corporate website, you just want to say, here's what we sell, here's our board of directors, period. You don't need to have a blog that's updated every day. Another question.
So it's possible to have the website, the typical, like the links, who we are, home, contacts, like the little, you click and you go to the next page.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. If you have a blog, it can be the first thing you see on the website, or you can hide it where you have to click blog to see it. It can be anywhere on the website, or it can not be there at all. You don't even have to have one. Question?
You said you don't need a domain?
That's right.
And server?
That's right. You don't need your own domain and server. You do need one, but it can be somebody else's. I'll show you. There are two kinds of WordPresses out there, and they're both absolutely free. One is called WordPresscom. You just go to WordPress.com. They ask you for your email address and a username, and you sign up for a free account. And they will run WordPress on their server for you. It's a web-hosted service that they'll take care of everything. So it's absolutely free hosting. As far as the skin or template, what your website looks like, you have 216 themes to choose from. You can choose, there are some default plugins that you can turn on and off to modify how your website works and what features it offers. It's not open source. If you're a programmer, you can't see how it's written and you can't modify it because they're running it on their computer and they don't want you screwing it up and crashing their computer. So they've locked that part down. If you're not a programmer, that doesn't really matter. It's nice and secure. It's backed up. You will not, chances are you will not get hacked. I've never heard of that happening, of you getting hacked on WordPress.com. They'll back up your files for you so that even if their computer does crash, you're safe. They have a copy of everything. They give you 3 gigabytes of storage, which unless you're uploading movie files, should be more than enough. They will put ads on your site, and that's how they generate revenue. That's how they support the expense of running your website for you, is that people click on those ads and they make money, the WordPress people. And there's very little knowledge required. You can have a website up and running in a minute. You don't need to know any programming, any formatting, nothing. You don't need to find a hosting company. You don't need to give anybody money or credit card number, anything. It's very easy to set up. The alternative is WordPress.org. You go to that website, and they will give you, for free, the exact same software that runs on WordPress.com. And then you need to go find somewhere to install it. And that usually means getting a hosting company, which I'll go over in the next slide. And that does cost money. However, there are a lot of advantages to doing so. You can install any theme you want. Last time I checked, there were about 2,300 themes available for free. And then there are additional themes that you can buy or pay for if you want. Now, 216 actually sounds like a lot, but WordPress.com has 56 million users. Assuming even distribution of the themes, that means that no matter what theme you pick, there are 250,000 websites out there that look just like yours. So it's hard to be unique on WordPress.com using one of those default themes. With WordPress.org, you can install all different kinds of plugins. There are 20,000 free plugins out there that change the way the website works. Just like you would install extensions or plugins in your web browser, like Firefox or Chrome, you can do that with WordPress. Question?
What kind of guarantee WordPress has of third-party plugins? Like if I, let's say, buy yours, what's the guarantee that your code is not going to break my site?
If you're
Especially on that one. Yeah.
If you're using WordPress.org, there are no guarantees. Because all these plugins are written by different people. They may not be written by the people who made WordPress. And nobody can guarantee how those two are going to interact.
So there's no quality assurance like a gatekeeper within WordPress company?
If you go to WordPress.org and you download one of the 20,000 plugins that are there, it's guaranteed to not be hacked. You will not be installing malicious code on your website. Whether it'll actually do what you want it to do and it won't conflict with all the other plugins, it's hard to say. Because with 20,000 plugins, there are almost infinite combinations. Not infinite, it's just a number I can't count to. So there are no guarantees. Other things you can do on WordPress.org. You can modify the code. If you're a programmer and you know PHP, you can mess with WordPress as much as you want. You're responsible for your own security and your own plugins. My sites have gotten hacked because I was using WordPress.org. And I learned from that experience and I beefed up my security and it hasn't happened again until the hackers find another way around it. Storage varies based on who your hosting company is, but usually they give you as much storage as you want. They won't put ads on your website unless you want to put ads on your website, in which case you're the one making money off it. And you'll probably learn a lot more by using WordPress.org. This is what I started with 7 years ago. And 7 years later, I'm giving a presentation about WordPress because I learned so much using it over 7 years. Question?
If you're doing your own installation, it's going to be hosted on some third-party hosting company, right? So
Yes.
Are you still responsible for security, or you're kind of the hosting company charges you for it, so hopefully guarantees as well? Or?
The hosting company will guarantee that their servers will not get hacked, but they can't guarantee what software you're installing on their computers. So if you install WordPress on their server and your WordPress gets hacked, that's one thing. It's kind of like how Target got attacked back in November. That was Target's computer that was attacked. It wasn't, your personal account. It was all accounts. And it's not because of something you did. It's because Target's computers were not secure. So the hosting company will guarantee their hardware. They won't necessarily guarantee your software. If you do go to WordPress.com, this is what you were getting at earlier, you can pay for all these free upgrades. So you can get custom themes, you can get a domain name. Usually on WordPress.com, the domain name will be your username.wordpress.com, like hks.wordpress.com. You can host it on WordPress.com, pay a fee for a domain name, I think it's $10 a year, and then it'll become hks.org. No WordPress.com in it. So you can get all these free updates. It costs about $100 a year to get all these updates. And then you don't have to worry about anything because, again, they're hosting it for you. It's secure. It's free. $100 a year is less than you'll pay by using WordPress.org somewhere else. But, again, they're taking care of more stuff for you. So you're getting more quality assurance for your bang.
It seems like the slide that you mentioned earlier, comparing WordPress.com and WordPress.org, WordPress.org is superior compared to WordPress.com. Is there a reason to go to the WordPress.com then?
WordPress.com is easier to get up and running. You don't have to find a hosting company. If you don't want to spend any money, then you can get a WordPress.com site absolutely free. There are caveats that come with that. You get what you pay for. But it's a lot easier, it's free, and there's less knowledge needed. So it all depends on what your goal is and how quickly you want to get up and running. Question?
Can you switch?
Switch?
So start with WordPress.com, but
Oh, great question. You can switch. You can start on WordPress.com and move to your own self-hosted site with WordPress.org. Absolutely. If you have the technical expertise, you can do that for free. If you don't, you can pay WordPress.com a one-time fee of I think about $100, and they'll move for you. You can also, I think you can move from WordPress.org to WordPress.com. And if you've used any of those other CMSs I listed, like Drupal or Joomla, you can move from those to WordPress. You can move from WordPress to one of those. WordPress, no matter which one of these you're using, you can put your content in and take it out anytime you want. It's not as easy with, say, Facebook. When you put stuff in there, it's not very easy to get your content out of Facebook. WordPress.com wants your data to be portable because your data is yours. Their philosophy is that the easier they make it for you to leave, the more likely you are to stay. So you can sign up for either one of these and then just take your stuff and leave and go somewhere else anytime you want. Good question. Question?
Is it possible to build a site on either one so that it's membership only, so that if I give passwords only, like authentication basically, so that not everybody in the world can access, but just authorized users?
That would be a plugin that you'd have to install, I suspect. I don't know if that's one of the plugins allowed on WordPress.com, but it can absolutely be done on WordPress.org. Just like how I mentioned earlier, those video tutorials they have to pay to get to, that can be done on WordPress for sure. Any other questions? So if you want to use WordPress.org and you want to set up your own website on a hosting company, here's one that I've used and I like called Bluehost. There's another one that I like even more called DreamHost, but their website doesn't make for as nice a screenshot. So Bluehost is one such hosting company, and things you want to look for no matter what hosting company you choose, and there are thousands out there, some of them not very good. I recommend asking your friends what they use and going by that recommendation. You want to look to see if they have one-click installation of WordPress, which is very easy, doesn't require any expertise or knowledge, and I'll show you what that looks like. Unlimited space, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited email addresses, and possibly a free domain name is a nice thing to have with a hosting company. Bluehost is specifically recommended by the creators of WordPress as a good place to run their software, and it's $5 a month. Now, if you look for coupon codes, you can even get it cheaper than that. Question?
Sorry, how can it be unlimited space and bandwidth?
Well, certainly they do have, finite space on their computer, but anytime it fills up, they'll just add more. What they're really saying is that they won't charge you for additional storage, not like your cable company or your cell phone company, which might say it's 10 cents per megabyte, or you have to pay for a data plan. With these guys, they don't care how much you use. They'll just accommodate whatever you need.
Yeah, but I could receive a huge amount of visitors that would just block the other sites that they are hosting.
One of the caveats they don't list here is space and bandwidth is one thing. Their computers also have RAM and CPU speed. And if you have a lot of visitors, you might overwhelm their computer, regardless of the storage, in which case you then need to pay for more RAM and a faster CPU.
I thought that the bandwidth is the...
Bandwidth is how much data is being sent over the phone line to the other computers, but the computer may not be able to serve it that quickly. Your internet might actually be faster than the computer. So sometimes you do need to pay for additional accommodations based on how popular your website is. That's true.
But it means that they don't give a kind of an SLA about the download time for my website.
With Bluehost and DreamHost, if you set up one website, I have found that those websites are very fast, very reliable, and you never need to pay for anything else. With my DreamHost account, I have 20 websites running on one account, 20 installations of WordPress. And that's a lot. So I pay an additional fee every month to have a faster computer running in DreamHost headquarters for my websites. And now my websites are fine. But without that additional fee, my sites would be competing with each other and would be very slow.
Yeah.
So Bluehost is one recommended place to use WordPress. And now I'd like to actually show you. We've been talking long enough about what WordPress is like. I'd like to actually show you what WordPress looks like. So I suggested the one-click installation, and I have gone ahead. Actually, let me bring this chair over. Pardon me. So prior to coming over here this afternoon, I went to Bluehost.com. I did a one-click installation of WordPress, and this is the first thing I see after I install it. It asks me, what's my site title? I'm going to call it HKS Test. My username is Kgagny. Question?
Yes, before I'm going to try to follow you. I think I have a domain name.
Uh-huh.
I already tried to create a website on one of those, like plug and play. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like you take little pieces and you put it together. It's very simple, very basic, and very lame, I think.
Okay.
So if I try to do the same thing, try to start one now and bring in that domain, will it have a conflict because of that? Or?
You can bring your domain to whatever hosting company you want, such as DreamHost or Bluehost.
First, and then,
If you move the domain name, what's already there as far as content goes won't come with it.
but just the domain, yeah.
Yep.
That's fine.
So you'll have a blank slate,
Okay.
and
But
then
the
you
name
can
will work.
and then you can tell Bluehost install WordPress on this domain I just moved over. So I gave it a site title, my username, my password. I'm going to say 12345, same as my luggage. My email address. I'll go with my personal address. Allow search engines to index the site, not yet. And all this stuff, with the exception of username, can all be changed later. Nothing here is permanent. I can change the name of my website, my password, and whether or not search engines can access it later. So for now, I'm just going to click Install WordPress. And a moment later, it says you're done. Were you expecting more steps? Sorry to disappoint. It's done. That's it. So now I can go ahead and log in. With my password, 12345. And let's see, wow, that's... And now I'm going to be on, as soon as this loads, the administrative, this is the dashboard. This is where the webmaster does everything. This is where they choose the theme for their website. This is where they write the content. And I'll show you what the end user would see. I'll load that in a separate tab. So right away, I just installed WordPress, and here's what my WordPress site looks like. It's pretty vanilla off the bat. There's not much to it. Not a lot of content. Very black and white theme, very stark. But I can change that at a moment's notice. Let's go to Appearance here. I choose Themes. And I have some default themes already installed here. I'm going to go ahead and click Activate on that one. I'm going to refresh my page. Man.
It's refreshing. Does it allow multiple languages in it?
I think a plugin allows that, yeah, internationalization. And now the look of my site is completely changed without changing the content. Now I can change this banner image up here so it's something less orange, maybe something more oriented toward Harvard. But for now, let's go ahead and write a post. I'm going to go Post, Add New.
Can you change the name of your website later?
Yep. Yeah. All the stuff I put in during the installation, that can all be changed. So let's see. This is my first post. Greetings to all my colleagues at HKS. And just like in Microsoft Word, there are all these icons you can use to format your text. So you can make HKS bold or colleagues italicized. You can add a link right here. Let's make this go to harvard.edu. And let's just click Publish. And now we're going to refresh this page. This is my first post. So colleagues is italicized, HKS is bold, greetings is a link that goes to harvard.edu. And just like that, within 5 minutes I have my website, I've changed the theme, I've written a post. Let's say that we want to add some media to this. Let's add media. Just says drag and drop an image. All right, let's see what images do I have available. Let's see. Just a moment. There. Just going to take this picture, drop it right there, upload it, And there, it's a screenshot from some other software. And there it is, right in my post. Click Update My Post. Refresh this page. And it's loading. And there it is. So you can add images just like that. Well, if you want to, let's see, add a YouTube video. I'm just going to go into my post here. I'm going to delete this photo. Just paste in the URL to YouTube just like that. Click Update. Refresh the page. And there it is. I now have a video embedded right in my first post. Didn't have to figure out any code to embed it. Didn't have to figure out the width of the column that the video is going in. I just pasted in the URL and immediately figured everything else out, and the video's there. Anyway, if you haven't seen the MIT version of this, I highly recommend it. So,
Can I ask a question about the public version? There's some text that shows up on the homepage. I built a WordPress site kind of unsuccessfully, which is why I'm here in hopes of redeeming myself. But there's some text that shows up on the homepage which I haven't been able to figure out how to get rid of, like where it says uncategorized or you know, like it says, mine doesn't say howdy, it says something else, hello or something. So like, how do you get rid of that sort of stuff that you don't want cluttering your page?
good question. The black bar that's at the top of the screen right now, only I can see it. If you were to pull up this same website right now, you would not see it.
But you would still see things like uncategorized.
You would. That's because your post can go into multiple categories. Like on my film review website, let's say I have different categories: horror, sci-fi, fantasy, so that people can read just the category they want and see related posts. So you can create whatever categories you want. So I'm going to create a new category here called horror.
You don't want a category. Like you just want it like looking clean, you know, like a more traditional website.
Sure. That's a good question. Let me switch back to this for a moment. There are actually two kinds of pieces of content, of text content, you can put on WordPress. So what you just saw me put up was a post, my first post. It's chronological in order, and it's usually your latest update, like you would find on any blog. The newer the post, the higher up on the screen it appears. So your latest post is the very top. As you add a new post, your other posts get pushed down. So usually you only have like maybe the top 5 or so. So if you have more than that, you have to click at the bottom next page. Usually posts allow readers to comment on it. They respond to the story right there. And that can be something that either appears on the website as soon as they submit it, or you can set it you need to approve it. So you don't have to worry about other people putting stuff on your website without your approval. And it can be categorized. So as you just saw, horror, fantasy, sci-fi, uncategorized is the default on a new site. The other kind of post is the other kind of content is a page. And this differs in a couple of important ways. This is static content that is always going to be relevant to your site and that you don't want going away. Stuff like about this company, our history, directions to our facility, how to contact us, frequently asked questions. So those are the things that you always see links to at the top of the page. It doesn't matter how many pages or posts you write, these will always stay right where they are. Wherever it is you put them, that first time you create them, they'll stay right there. They don't change as you add new content. They generally don't change that much over time. They generally don't allow people to respond right to them. Like if you have directions to our location, people don't really need to leave comments on that. You're not inviting reader feedback on, are these good directions? Do you like our directions? And instead of categories, they don't have categories at all. But there can be a hierarchy. So let's say you have a company and you create an About the Company page. And then beneath that you can have About Our History, Our Board of Directors, Our Mission Statement, Our Values. Those are all children of the overall About Us. But they don't have categories. So if you want to write something that does not have any category and which will always be relevant to your site, you want to create a page. And I can go ahead and do that right away as well. So I was working up here where it says posts. Now I'm going to go down here to where it says pages, add new. There. So that's our history. Click publish. So now let's refresh our page. And now right here we have our history, right at the top there. I'm going to click our history, and there it is. And you can see it doesn't say when it was written. It doesn't say what category it's in. It's just the headline and the body. And this little edit button, again, that only shows up to me as an administrator. You as the end user would not see that. Question?
Can you change those, like the background, the colors and
Yes. So let's go to
appearance? Okay.
So let's go to appearance and header. And that's the default right there. And I can select a new image. Let's see. Just going to quickly go through my directories here. No need to follow along. There. Going to upload that. Crop and publish. And now let's refresh our page. And there. Since I didn't crop it correctly, it doesn't fit very well. Had I taken more time, it would look better. But that's how easy it is to change. Question?
How do you add tabs on top of the page so that take you to other content pages?
Like these right here?
Yes.
Well, I created the Our History page just by creating the page, and it automatically popped up there. So if I were to create another page, like add new, I create that, refresh the page, and there's another new tab. Now you can also, there's an additional feature of WordPress where you can create buttons that go anywhere you want. You can create a button that goes to somebody else's website entirely. But by default, any pages you create are right there. Was there a question over here?
Yes.
Hi.
So I was using HTML5 website building platforms like Weebly or Wix before, where you can just drag and drop some stuff, for example, for the main page. This looks like a little static. Like, is there a way to change the location of our history, for example? I don't want it to be like horizontal. I want to put it like vertical. Is it a part of the design? Like, do I have the flexibility to drag and drop?
There are some things you can drag and drop.
On the main page, I just want to see a video about my company.
Mm-hmm.
Is it feasible with this?
Well, it depends on what theme you're using, how customizable your website will be, because every theme is different, and every theme can be customized in different ways. Most WordPress sites have what's called widgets. Now, if I were to scroll to the bottom of this website that I've built, right here, by default, you have a list of my most recent posts, my most recent comments, all my categories, my archives, and something called meta, which is not very useful. And I can change those just by dragging and dropping. So here's that list of everything I just read off. You know, if I want to get rid of meta, I just drag it away, refresh the page, and now it's gone. Different themes would also allow you to drag and drop different things that go up here as well. So they have different areas where you can put widgets. If you want to customize the entire framework of the website and maybe even have different layouts for different pages, then what you want isn't a theme. What you want is called a framework. And you can buy and download WordPress frameworks. There are some free ones as well. Those are a little bit more complicated, but the level of customization is much greater. Yeah. Question?
Three quick questions. Can you? Is it okay to contact you after the presentation?
Yes, I have a stack of business cards right up here.
Okay.
So feel free to grab one afterward.
Second question is, where can we get the slides after this?
On the Short Screen Center website. It'll be on the Short Screen Center website.
Okay.
Yes.
You go to writing workshops, and there's a section which says handouts from previous
Got it. Thank you.
By default, it's in Keynote format for the Macintosh. I'll also make available a PDF version.
Okay. And last question is, do you have any recommended plugins for portfolio? I have a custom WordPress site, and I'm looking for some recommended plugins for portfolio so I can, showcase different types of projects.
Recommended plugins for a portfolio site. Now remind me, are these writing samples, design samples?
These are like, it could be writing, it could be courses that I've created, videos, content that went behind it.
I'm not sure you would need a plugin so much as you would just need a good layout for all your different content. You might want to break it out into different categories, like here are courses I've taught, here are some writing samples, and here are videos. And if you WordPress allows for image galleries. And you can create a whole bunch of small images called thumbnails that each one goes to a different piece of work you've done. And that can be a very nice, very easy layout right there.
Okay. I need to write. Can I just get your card?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Good question.
Yeah, question.
You said that the domain is free, the host is free, server. What about when you do e-commerce through this? Do you get the payment, like receiving credit cards online? Do you get those programs for free also?
Well, that's a good question. Let me show you an example of one of my own sites. It loads a little bit more slowly. But all my sites are WordPress.org, so I can install whatever plugins I want. And one of the plugins I've installed is an e-commerce plugin. I paid $80 for this plugin. It's called Shop, S-H-O-P-P. And for $80, you can buy stuff through my online store, and you can pay via PayPal. And it'll go, when you go to checkout from my store, it goes to paypal.com, and they handle all the credit card transaction fees. So I don't need to worry about collecting user information, keeping it secure, setting up a vendor contract with a credit card merchant or anything like that. For the $80, you get just PayPal. And then this particular online plugin I use, Shop, you can buy add-ons that add additional features. Like I want to allow my users to pay via Amazon payments. So I pay an extra $25 for that feature in Shop. It automatically calculates postage costs for the United States Postal Service. If I want to add UPS or FedEx, that would be an additional $25 each. So some people might see that as being nickel and dime to death, but I like it in that they're not going to be including features I'm not using. I'm only paying for what I'm going to use. There are some free e-commerce plugins out there that you don't have to spend any money to buy, but the features are very rudimentary. For example, I want to be able to sell files. I want people to be able to pay for something and download it as opposed to me shipping it to them. And the free options that I looked at didn't allow that. So I had some more complex needs that were worth investing $80 in. But yeah, you can definitely do e-commerce. I don't know if you can do that with WordPress.com. I've never had to investigate that myself, but definitely WordPress.org.
Thank you.
Yeah. Question?
So, is there a way that your home page could be a page versus a post?
Yes. I'll show you how to do that. Let's see. You go to Settings and then Reading, and it says Front Page displays your choice of either your latest post or a static page. And then you choose which static page you want. But then you should provide a link somewhere for people to find your blog, if that's not the first thing they see. Yeah.
Where were you when I was agonizing over this a year ago?
Actually, about a year ago, I was right here giving this presentation. One more thing I want to show you, if it will load. This is one of my slower sites. So this is a website I run where the home page is a blog. It's all my latest updates. So here's a post from February 9th, and here's a post from January 12th. But I've hacked it so that the first post is always this. And actually, you don't even need to hack it. There are better ways to do it than what I did. But you can, when you're creating a post, so let's go into the post that we already created. There's the one called, the one with the Gangnam Style. Yeah. So I'm going to go to Edit This. And I'm going to say, stick this post to the front page. And that means even as I write new posts, this post will still be at the top until I unstick it. So if you want that post to have a longer shelf life or you want more people to see it, you can just stick it to the front page. Yeah. Any other questions?
What's the spelling of the e-commerce plugin?
I use one called Shop, S-H-O-P-P. There are a lot of others out there. This is the third one I've tried. I didn't like the other two I was using. Actually, the first one I liked, I just outgrew it. And the second one I hated because it crashed a lot. And finally, I settled on Shop, and it does everything I need, and I'm happy. And I've been there for 2 years now. Question?
Not directly related to this topic, can you have, does the title of your page need to show up both in the menu bar and in big bold letters at the top, or can you make it so that it only shows up in the menu bar?
That's a good question. So there are two ways to do that. One is if you go to Appearance and then Menus, and this gets back to what I was referencing earlier, where you can create links that go anywhere. So you can create your own menus. So like right here, this is a link to the page called Our History. But then it says, what do you actually want to say in the navigation? I'm just going to call it History. And let me see if this works. I believe there's another change I need to make. No, wait. Yep. So now let's refresh this page. So now it just says History in the navigation, but right here it says Our History. And I can make that say whatever I want. So let's go back to Edit My Menu, and let's call this Bill and Ted, because they know a few things about history. And now it says Bill and Ted, and it goes to Our History. Is that what you were asking?
Well, I recently had to replace text on my WordPress website with a giant graphic.
Okay.
And I wanted to get that out of the way completely so that there would be no bold, and I'm just hoping that, I suppose what you're inferring is that I could simply replace that with a blank. This is Our History. Well, that's the thing, is I want to get rid of that.
Oh, you want to get rid of this?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I interpreted your question the other way. Well, what you can do is, actually, I think I have a plugin for that. Now, here's a plugin called All-in-One SEO Pack. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And this will now modify the way WordPress works in a way that I'll show you. So let me go back to Our History page. And now, by turning on that All-in-One SEO Pack, I have these additional fields down here where you can set a separate title. So let me, I always get confused which one goes where, so let's try this. Test title. Let me just fill that in, see what happens. Nope. You generally do want to have a title to each page because Google places a lot of emphasis on that. When they're crawling your website, that's going to be the first thing they see. And if you do a Google search, here's the name of my website, GameBits. That's because I put that as the title on my page. If I just left that blank, Google wouldn't see the name of my page, and it wouldn't know what to call it, and it wouldn't show up in search engine results. So you generally don't want to leave that blank.
So just because it appears in the menu bar doesn't mean Google sees it.
Right, but what you can do is you can leave this blank, but then the All-in-One SEO Pack lets you give it a title that Google will see and your users won't. So that's the best of both worlds. So Google will now see this page as Our History. Your users will see it as blank. So let me update that. Refresh this page. And that should be blank now. And there it is. Without hurting your Google ranking. So that's one of the things the All-in-One SEO Pack does. I recommend that plugin. Any other? Did I see any other hands? Hi.
You're creating this website through the WordPress.org, right?
That's correct. Okay. So I think I've covered the other items I had on my agenda. I mean, I already showed you how easily you can change your themes, and like I said, there are about 2,300 themes. They grow by about 500 themes a year. So there are 1 or 2 new themes being updated every day, and those are all free. Like I said, you can pay for even fancier ones. Here's an example of a website that I customize. So I was writing a website about really old Apple computers, and this is the default theme that came with WordPress. That's fine, but you look at this website, you might think my website is about pine cones, which it isn't. That's not unique to my topic. I want a website where you can look at it, and before you even read anything, you know what my website is about. So I could change it to this, but again, that's not very meaningful. That doesn't tell me much. So instead I poked around and I found this really old theme that looks like an old Macintosh computer. Now I could not run this theme on WordPress.com. It's not one of the 216 that they support. But since I was running WordPress.org, I could install anything I wanted. So I installed this, which was great, but I was going for the look of a very specific old Apple computer, and this isn't quite it. Also, all these icons look the same, which is kind of boring. It's black and white, there's no color, and this main column is kind of narrow. So knowing a little bit of programming, I was able to customize it in a way that, again, WordPress.com wouldn't let me. So I added some color. It's a blue background now with the yellow folder here. Each of the icons is different, so it suggests what it is you're going to find when you click on it. I made this wider so the videos and the images can be even bigger, and it looks more like the specific computer I'm going for now. And like I said, there are also plugins that you can install that modify how WordPress works. I showed you the SEO plugin. There's a plugin called Jetpack, which is made by the same people who make WordPress. And it actually is sort of a Swiss Army knife. It actually adds 30 new features to your WordPress site. And it's free. One of those features is a contact form. If you want people to be able to send you email without you telling them what your email address is, you can just create a little form that they fill in. You know, their name, their email address, and their message. I generally recommend not putting your email address anywhere on your website, because then that's how spammers get it, and you'll never see the end of email and junk mail coming in.
It's Jetpack?
Jetpack. It's right up here now. Just switch the screen. Adds 31 new features. You can cut down on, speaking of spam, if you allow comments on your website, you will get spam through those comments. People will try to leave comments on your website that are selling Viagra and Cialis. You can require people to log into your website, and Jetpack lets them do that using their existing Facebook account, Google, Yahoo, Hotmail, so they don't have to create a whole new account just for your website. It will add little buttons to each one of your posts that says, share this post on Facebook, share this post on Google+, share it with your friends, email it to somebody. So it really helps you get your content out there just with this little additional feature that Jetpack adds. It will add a spell checker and a grammar checker, so if you're writing your stories right in WordPress. Actually, that is another great feature I should show you. If you are writing your stories in WordPress, and okay, you have this black bar at the top, you have this sidebar with all these words and all these links here, all these buttons and all these SEO fields that we added. There's a lot going on this page. It's very busy. You click this one button, and now you're in distraction-free mode. Gets rid of all that stuff. And if you even put Google Chrome into full screen mode, it becomes even more distraction-free because then you get rid of all those other tabs. So here you can focus solely on your writing. You still have access to all the commands that let you bold and italicize and link text, but you don't have to worry about filling out all that other stuff. And when you're done, just go back to exit full screen. And if you do know HTML, you just click the tab that says text, and now you're writing in HTML. Like that. This is an example of a plugin that is not free. So this takes the basic contact form functionality that Jetpack offers and takes it to the nth degree. You can do so many more things with Gravity Forms. You can do event registration, multiple choice, surveys, quizzes. You can do actually e-commerce. You can actually create forms that people can buy stuff on, like shopping carts. It integrates with PayPal so that people can pay for stuff. Gravity Forms is a great plugin, and it's not free. Most plugins that you need to pay for WordPress, unfortunately, are not a one-time purchase. It's usually an annual purchase. Gravity Forms is $40 a year for the individual. Now, the nice thing is that after a year, your software doesn't expire. You can keep using it, but they're not going to give you the updates. So if there's a new version, you don't get the new version anymore, but your old version will still work. If you want to use it on more than one site, you have to pay for a different license. So if you want to use it on 3 sites, that's $100. If you want to use it on infinite sites, that's $200. And if you're a developer, if you build sites for other people, then that is actually a really good deal because you pay for it once for $200, or you pay it $200 a year, and then you can install it on all your clients' websites. So that's a great selling point when somebody comes to you to build a website. You're like, yeah, I can give you Gravity Forms. That's included in my fee. And you get 1 year of updates. All in one. I'm sorry, question?
I wanted to find out about the spell check.
Oh, yeah. On Jetpack? You want me to show it to you? Let me see. I actually tend to do my writing in a separate text editor, just because it's what I'm used to, and then paste it into WordPress. So I haven't used this feature, but it shouldn't take long to turn it on. That's one nice thing is that if you are writing in WordPress and your internet connection dies in the middle of writing something, it'll save a copy, and it'll still be there when you get back online. So you don't have to worry about. I'm sure you've all filled out web forms, or you take a really long time, and then like your browser, you accidentally close the tab, or your internet dies, or you click submit and it says session timeout. You don't have to worry about that with WordPress. It'll keep all your stuff in there. Now let's see. There's a spell check. So I'm just going to, let's see. Proofreading. So I'm going to enable all these. And this also includes a grammar checker, so you can tell it what to keep an eye out for, like biased language, like something that might be sexist, using him instead of him and her. Jargon, passive voice. You can tell it specifically what things to look for and what not to look for. And you just go ahead and turn that on. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, now I believe that's my web browser doing that. But here's a little button that says Proofread Writing. I'm going to click that. And it doesn't show up very well, but there are now additional red lines being added by WordPress. My Mac was already spell checking, but now WordPress is doing its own spell checking. And it will tell me what I'm spelling wrong and will let me fix it. And there are suggestions. And those suggestions are coming from WordPress. That's not my Apple doing that. Awesome. There. Question?
What if I have users coming in doing searches for different keywords and whatnot, and then I want to make a word cloud out of those?
Yes. I haven't come across the need to create a cloud based on search terms. I can do a tag cloud, but that's slightly different. So let's go to WordPress.org and let's look for a plugin that does that. Okay, so 30,000 plugins almost right now, 601 million downloads. Let's do let's look for the term search cloud, and hello. Oh, here we go. It's down here. Search terms cloud. It displays the most used terms in your website. Let's see if there are some screenshots for what that would look like. Yep, search terms cloud right there. That's what people are looking for. So what you would do in WordPress is you can go to, I probably should have done this from the beginning, plugins, add new, and again I'm in my dashboard here of the site that I've been building for the last hour. This is where I should have done the search. Search cloud. Search terms cloud, I'm just going to click install now. Yes. And there, it's downloaded. I click activate. And now that feature's been turned on. Looks like there may have been a slight error there. I don't know why. Let's see. Anyway, but that's how easy it is to install a plugin. You know, you don't even have to leave the dashboard. You don't have to go to WordPress.org like I did. And now you can see it is listed among the plugins that I have installed. The reason I may have gotten an error message is because this is a new plugin. It's at version 0.1 right now, so it's probably still under development. But that feature is out there. And if I had done some more searching, I may have found another plugin that does the same thing. Yep.
Do these get reviewed somewhere, so like, you can check how popular they are?
Yep. Let's go back to add a new plugin. I do that same search again. Search Cloud. Let's see. So here you have a star rating. This random one that I'm picking out has 4.5 stars based on 7 ratings. If I click Details, and then doesn't list any reviews here, but usually if there are people can give more exhaustive reviews, more qualitative reviews. So this search terms cloud, not only is that version 0.1, but you can see that it just came out a month ago. So probably not a people have used. Only 67 people have downloaded it. If you see a plugin that has 100,000 downloads, chances are people are downloading it because it works. So you can gauge it both on rating and on popularity. Good question. One other feature I want to show you is users. Actually, let me turn off that plugin because I'm getting tired of that error message. Just click deactivate, and away it goes. Okay, so by default, my WordPress site has 1 user, and you saw me create that account at the beginning of the hour. I can add additional users. So let's see. Let's go with this one. And I've created a password for this user, and I gave the email address, so I can say send this user her new password, and then I can choose a role. My role is administrator. I can install plugins, I can change themes, I can do whatever I want to the site. There are very few people that you want to have that level of power and access to your site. If it's somebody that you don't trust, or if it's somebody you do trust but their computer gets hacked, then they can bring your whole site down. So there are all these other levels. A contributor means somebody who can submit new posts to your website, but they won't be published until you approve them. An author is somebody who can post and publish their own content. So if you're running a multi-user site like an online newsletter or a newspaper or a blog that multiple people are contributing to, you want to give some people this permission. An editor can post and publish their own content and change other people's content. And then there's the administrator, which is me, who can take care of all the content and the actual configuration of the site. So you can create as many users as you want. Let's see, if I were to go to, let's see, just one moment. I want to pull up this other page. So this is my class website at Emerson, and these are all my students, and they can all submit content to our class blog whenever they want and publish it without my approval, because they know that this is homework that's being graded and I trust them to write things that are appropriate. So I've given them all author level, and then when they graduate, I demote them to subscriber so that they can't write any new content once they're no longer in my class. If I wanted to, I could even delete the account entirely while keeping the content. Because when you delete a user, I'll show you, I'm going to delete Amber right now. She won't be happy about that. It says, what should I do with all of Amber's posts? I'm going to say, oh, just reassign it to me. That way all the content stays up there, and I get rid of her account, and really any evidence that she ever existed. No. Yeah. Question?
I would have thought, so you always need a website, because when you were starting, you did HK and Harvard.edu, and I'm wondering if you need a website, because we are creating a website, right?
If you're using WordPress.com, they'll give you the link. It'll be like hks.wordpress.org or something. In this case, the pubcast.org, where I'm running this demonstration, if you just go to the pubcast.org, that is my class blog over at Emerson. I then create a folder on that website, the pubcast.org/hks, and I create an entirely different WordPress site in there. If with DreamHost, which is the hosting company I use, you can create a username kind of like on WordPress.com. It would be hks.dreamhost.com.
That's what I'm asking. Do you always need that kind of website? Do you need something like that?
Yeah, you need to have some sort of an address where other people can access it. The one exception is like right here.
I'm asking that because if you're individual. maybe I cannot just go to hks.com. Because it's personal. If it's personal, I don't know how you can just get access to that.
You can get your own domain name for about $20 a year. That's how much it costs to get a name like I own KenGagney.com. I bought that by going to what's called a registrar and paying $20 a year. I own about 40 domain names, and I pay $20 a year for each one. So, the alternative is you actually can install WordPress right on your own computer. And here's a website that I have running on this Mac right here. The only problem is that I'm the only one who can access it. Nobody else on the internet has access to this computer. So this is a place where I install new plugins, see if they work, and if I like them, then I upload them to my other websites. So you can build a whole website right on your own computer, and you'll be the only one who can access it. But once you're ready with it, you can then export it to the internet. And this does not require a domain name. We have 7 minutes left. Any other questions? Hi.
If you want to set up a .com website, can you swap it over to .org, or do you have to just start all over again?
If you have a WordPress.com account, can you switch over to WordPress.org? The answer is yes.
You can just transfer your content. What do you do?
Depending on your level of technical expertise, you can either do it yourself by exporting all the content, or you can hire them to do it for a one-time fee of about $100. There are basically two aspects to your website. There's the content, and then there's the configuration. The configuration includes any plugins you've installed, your user accounts, everything that the users don't really see. Exporting your content is extremely easy. You can export and import that. Just takes a minute or two. The configuration, one way you can do it is just start from scratch, reinstall all the same plugins, almost as if your computer had crashed and you have to start from scratch. Or you can actually export the configuration, and that's a little bit more complex, but it can be done. Yeah.
What is that export configuration? Does anyone need to help you with that?
Again, it depends on your technical expertise. Okay. Your website's configuration is stored in what's called a MySQL database. And if you are familiar with that environment, you can export the entire database and re-import it into a new database. But if you are not very familiar with that and you don't know like MySQL or PHP, then you may want to get somebody to help you. Usually either your local egghead or somebody from WordPress.com. Question?
Do you think you can give us the URL of the location of your presentation today?
Yes, I'll be giving that to Allison, who coordinated today's event, and she'll be sending out links. They'll also be available on the Shorenstein Center website. So that will include the keynote file that I've been showing you, as well as, I hope, a screencast of this entire presentation with my narration.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Hi.
I have a question that may be a little more esoteric than needs to be addressed in this forum, but I've been trying to install a gallery, and it's been unsuccessful so far. Do you have any advice for a source where to learn to do that successfully? No,
that's a great question, as broad appeal. Let me go back to my keynote, actually, for a moment. I'll skip right down to the last slide. This is the monthly meetup that I was telling you about, and the next one is this coming Monday. They have a different topic every month, and this month the topic is plugins. What are recommended plugins to install on your website? And that is a fantastic topic for somebody who's brand new to WordPress. Not all the monthly topics are that accommodating of somebody who's new to WordPress, but this one is great. So they're going to go over gallery plugins, SEO plugins, form plugins, all different kinds of stuff. So I highly recommend checking it out. The attendance is free. The pizza is free. There's no reason not to go. I will be there, so I definitely recommend checking it out. There are about 70 to 80 people who show up every month. So you're going to meet a ton of WordPress people of all different experience levels, whether it's a beginner, a content developer, a programmer. I myself am not a programmer. I actually started off my undergraduate career many years ago as a computer science major and couldn't hack it, no pun intended. So I switched to communications, and WordPress is a great platform in which to communicate with the world, which is one of the reasons I love it. Speaking of me not being a developer, you're welcome to take my business card, but I don't build websites for contract work. That's just not one of the, I do so many other things that I don't do that. I know tons of developers though. If you need somebody to build a website for you, I have ample recommendations. And I'm also happy to consult if you need some questions answered. I'm happy to accept your email or even do a video chat. But I don't actually build websites. So if anybody needs help with your website or needs help knowing where to get help, I'm happy to help. Any other questions before we wrap up?
I have a website on history, so I don't know what kind of plugins you would recommend for this. It has been working for like 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very successful. It's in Arabic and it's using WordPress.
Excellent.
And but I haven't worked on it for some time in terms of like updating it using. So what do you recommend?
Well, I don't know of any plugins specific to the topic per se, so I don't know that there's a history plugin. It all depends on what you're trying to do. Like if you have a lot of photos that you've taken at various archaeological sites, for example, then there's some cool gallery plugins out there or slideshow plugins. If you want to feature specific posts at the top of your website, you can install what's called a carousel, which shows a different image and then it rotates after 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And whatever image you click on will go to a post about that image.
I have this one now.
Yeah. So it all depends on what you're trying to do.
So what do you mean by the media archive that you have showed?
Well, there are various plugins you can install. I think, let's see if I can find it. WP Download Manager. Yep. I haven't used this one, but it does come recommended. And this allows you to, or maybe it's not this exact plugin, but something like it, that allows you to just dump all these different files into WordPress, like images, audio, video, Keynote, PowerPoint, whatever. And you can give it descriptions and let people search through your library. It'll keep analytics about how often each one is downloaded. So I'll give you an example of a website that is not using a plugin like that and probably should be. If I can remember the URL. And then this will be the last question because we need to wrap up in case somebody else has the room. So here's a website. This is an annual convention that I attend. I don't run this website, but this website has been going on, if you scroll to the very bottom here, 1991 through 2013. And every time somebody gives a presentation at this convention, they make available the slides, as well as audio and video of the presentation. So you can search here. I can just type in, show me everything from 2012, and there it is. I can search for which ones have video or which ones have audio, alphabetically by the title. And I can immediately download the PowerPoint, the PDF, or view the video of this session right here. And that's actually not showing me 2012. That's weird. Anyway, so this is an example of a media archive. It could probably be better structured, but as far as just making the files available, WordPress is great for this. Great. So thanks so much for coming to this session. I hope you learned a little bit about how to build your own website. If you have any questions, we do need to get out of the room, but I'll be in the hallway, and feel free to take my card. Thank you.
Thank you.